fonctionner le micro ici.
Je pense que ça va s'allumer en temps voulu.
En temps voulu.
C'est avec la régie qu'il faut voir ça.
Ouais, je vais voir avec eux si ça.
Ouais, ok.
Bonsoir à tous, je vous invite à vous asseoir, on va bientôt commencer. All right, good evening everyone. Welcome to UCLouvain. My name is James Tewison. I'm professor of finance here. Doesn't work? All right, I'll go with this one here. All right, good evening. My name is James Tewison. I'm professor of finance here at the Louvain School of Management. And I'm very excited actually to be here this evening on behalf of Professor Mathieu de Nanteuil. Madam Director, dear donors and corporate partners, dear students and laureates, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to welcome you to the 9th edition of the Philippe de Woot Award ceremony in the presence of our rector. This evening is not only a celebration of academic excellence and innovation in sustainability, but also a moment of remembrance and tribute. The Philippe de Woot Award was created to encourage young researchers to explore how companies can integrate social and environmental responsibility in their strategies. It rewards master's thesis students that combine rigor, creativity, and commitment to building a more sustainable world. Over the years, this prize has become a symbol of the values we cherish at UCLouvain and at the Louvain School of Management. Responsibility, ethics, and the courage to innovate. Behind this award stands the inspiring figure of Professor Philippe de Woot. Philippe was a pioneer in the field of corporate social responsibility long before it became a mainstream concern. He believed that businesses have a duty not only to create economic value, but also to contribute positively to society and the environment. His vision was both demanding and hopeful. Demanding because it called for profound change, and hopeful because it trusted in human creativity and responsibility. This year, our ceremony carries a very special meaning. It marks the 10th year of Philippe's passing. Tonight, we pay tribute to his legacy, a legacy that continues to guide our reflections and actions. By honoring the winners of this award, we also honor Philippe's conviction that knowledge and responsibility must go hand in hand. But this evening is also the opportunity to celebrate another great figure of our university, someone who shared with Philippe a deep commitment to the future of our institution, Michel Wautrin. Michel and Philippe were long-time colleagues, collaborators, and friends. They contributed together to shaping the intellectual and institutional foundations of the university we know today. Michel's visionary leadership played a decisive role in the creation and the development of Louvain-la-Neuve. Philippe's pioneering research helped anchor responsibility at the heart of the academic mission. Their paths, their ideas, and their convictions often converged. It is therefore particularly meaningful that tonight we also inaugurate the artwork of Elle Elenia, generously offered to UCLouvain by the family of Michel Wautrin. This inauguration is more than a symbolic gesture. It is a tribute to Misha's legacy and a reminder of the lasting imprint he left on our university's community. You will have actually the chance and the opportunity tonight to discover this artwork just after the ceremony, during the cocktail in front of the Socrates 11 room, just here on the left outside of this auditorium. By celebrating both Philippe de Woot Award and the inauguration of his artwork, we honor two remarkable men, two builders, two thinkers, whose contributions continue to inspire us today. Their commitment to knowledge, ethics, and the public good remains deeply alive in our halls, our teaching, and our collective ambition. Thank you for joining us tonight in this celebration of ideas, commitment, and impact. Let us make this evening not only a recognition of talent, but also a reaffirmation of the values that Philippe de Woot and Michel Watrin champion so passionately. I thank you so much, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
This award aims at increasing students' awareness of the necessity for them to engage into societal responsibility. It might serve as a bridge between business CSR practices and academic research and education.
Depuis que Philippe de Woot a dirigé mon mémoire de fin d'études, ça a toujours été un guide spirituel pour moi et pour tout IBA aujourd'hui. Tant sa vision du monde et du monde des affaires en particulier a marqué la culture d'entreprise, tout autant que son attitude de gentleman, toujours très élégant et empreint d'un grand sens de l'humour, avec souvent un petit air coquin.
Il était mon directeur de mémoire et il m'a écrit une lettre que j'ai gardée, où il me disait « Cher monsieur, je crois que nous ne sommes pas bien compris ». Et puis il m'a descendu, je dirais, tout mon premier projet de mémoire.
Philippe helped me when I was writing my book on creating shared value. He said to me, you need to integrate the spiritual, ethical side of sustainability. That was such a right remark, because ever since I've been integrating that into my teaching and into my writing.
J'ai été étudiante du professeur Philippe de Woot dans les années 80. C'est un cours qui avait beaucoup de succès. Philippe a une verve incroyable. Mais dans notre auditoire, en tant qu'étudiant, il y en avait l'un ou l'autre dont on savait que systématiquement, mais ils n'allaient jamais à aucun cours, et c'était presque devenu un principe pour eux de ne jamais mettre les pieds au cours. Un jour, par surprise, je vois un de ces étudiants au cours de Philippe de Woot, et pour le taquiner, je lui dis « Mais c'est pas possible, tu déroges à tes principes ?» Et il me répond « Ah ben non, ici je ne vais pas au cours, je viens au cinéma pour le plaisir. »
Professor Philippe de Woot was the very first person I met who was able to use the words love and business in the same sentence. He was an amazing writer, speaker, philosopher, truly ahead of his time. He planted the seeds for a more human form of management where the economy can serve life. I'm really honored to have crossed paths with him.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to take the floor for the second part of our ceremony. Tonight, we celebrate not only the winners, but also the entire community that keeps the spirit of Philippe de Woot alive. As you can see from the slide, the 2026 edition has once again attracted a remarkable diversity of submission and topics. The prize was created to encourage young graduates to explore how companies can integrate social and environmental responsibility into their strategies. Since 2010, I have had the privilege of coordinating this award together with representatives from other Belgian business schools with the SEMS network as a partner. Every 2 years we gather for this event, and this year we are delighted to return to Louvain-la-Neuve. The award reflects the vision of Philippe de Woot, a pioneer who believed that business should serve society and the environment and not just profit. His thinking remains deeply relevant today, inspiring the themes we see in the submitted thesis, from circular economy and sustainable finance to social entrepreneurship and climate strategies. The slide presenting the key theme highlights just how rich, diverse, and contemporary this year's research landscape truly is. The process behind the prize is rigorous and collaborative. It involves 2 juries. So we can go to the next slide. The academic jury, which reviewed all submissions and selected 7 finalists. Then a stakeholder jury, on the next slide, composed of practitioners and experts who then choose the 3 nominees we will present tonight. You just have seen the impressive list of jury members on the screen, a testament to the collective expertise supporting this award. Let me express my gratitude to all who made the award possible, beginning by the students who submitted their work and continue to bring sustainability to life in our schools, the members of both juries for their time and expertise, our donors for the generous support, the Louvain Foundation, and in particular Lydie Navo and Hélène de Brouwer for their commitment, and a very special thank to Barbara Dupont, the driving force behind the organization of this prize. Now, let's turn to the heart of this evening, our 3 nominees. Each of them has been selected for the originality, rigor, and impact of their work, and for the way it resonates with Philippe de Woot's vision. You can see the names and faces on the screen, 3 very different topics, yet all deeply connected to the challenges of sustainable business. In a moment, you will hear from each nominee, who will briefly introduce the video summarizing their thesis. After this presentation, I will return to announce with Charles de Liedekerk and Anne-Rose de Woot, I'm really sorry, Anne-Rose de Woot. We will come back to announce the winner and share the jury's arguments for their choice. The laureate will also tell us which association will receive half of the prize, in line with the spirit of responsibility that defines this award. Thank you for your attention, and let us now meet our nominees. Nominees is Maria Belper from Solvay Bristol Schools of Economics and Management, supervised by Professor Eric Monami. Her thesis, Decarbonizing Express Parcel Logistics in Europe, High-Speed Rail as a Sustainable Alternative to Air Transport, impressed the jury with its ambition, rigorous modeling, and strong alignment with European sustainability priorities. They highlighted the quality of her scenario building, the precision of her spatial analysis, and the clarity of her visual communication. Her work was seen as providing valuable insight into the future of sustainable logistics and offering promising tools for policymakers. Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good evening. I am honored to be here among all the other nominees, impressive nominees and impressive master theses. As you may know, writing a master thesis is not a small task, but once you have a meaningful purpose behind it, it becomes an exciting challenge. And sustainability as a duty was one of Philippe de Woot's core values, but it was also the driving force behind my master thesis on the decarbonization of express parcel logistics in Europe. Have you ever wondered how your parcel that you order on Amazon today can be delivered tomorrow at your doorstep? Behind this speed relies a vast logistics model that relies on air transport, a sector that emits a lot of CO2 emissions today. This is why the goal of my master thesis was to show that a logistic model based on high-speed rail train to deliver your parcels can be both logistically feasible and significantly more sustainable. Before showing you the video, I wanted to emphasize that I hope my work will encourage logistic companies and policymakers to further invest in rail infrastructure and to develop logistics models that will create long-term value for the future generations. Thank you.
What if express parcel logistics could match the speed of planes while emitting 26 times less CO2 emissions? This question drove my thesis, which evaluates how much CO2 Europe could avoid by shifting express parcel deliveries from air transport to high-speed rail. Why does this matter? Because Europe aims for climate neutrality by 2050 and has now introduced a 2040 target of a 90% reduction in emissions. At the same time, Europe wants to reduce its dependence on imported fossil fuels. Electrified transport is therefore essential. Also because 70% of Europe's electricity is already generated from decarbonated energy sources. To conduct my research, I first explored data on past high-speed freight projects, but public information was limited. Therefore, I analyzed how express parcels are currently delivered. Most of them leave fulfillment centers in the evening and fly overnight to the customer. Next, I compared the system with Europe's existing and planned high-speed rail network based on the TNT initiative. Then, using a geographic software, I mapped train stations, measured distances, and calculated realistic travel times to build a simple logistics model with one European fulfillment center handling less common products, 5 regional centers covering most of Europe, and then local centers storing the most common items that don't need rail transport. The target was to deliver parcels within 27 hours from a 5 p.m. order cutoff to deliver the next day at 8 p.m. With current rail speeds, 78% of Europe is reachable from Lyon, and almost all of Europe from the regional centers. And when adding up all parcel flows, this represents 1.38 billion parcels per year that could shift from planes to trains. To support this shift, Europe would need about 5,000 kilometers of additional high-speed lines. But reaching this network by 2040 would require increasing the current construction rate by only 3% per year. Finally, by comparing the emissions of planes and high-speed trains, it could be concluded that shifting these parcels to high-speed rail could avoid 4.6 million tons of CO2 every year. In short, Europe could maintain fast next-day delivery while dramatically reducing emissions. The real challenge now is to turn this potential into reality through coordinated investment and policy support and position Europe as a leader in sustainable logistics. Thank you for listening to this presentation and for the nomination to this prize.
Our second nominee is Julien Chouac from HEC Liège, University of Liège, supervised by Professor Bernard Surlemont. His thesis, approche de la viabilité économique du maraîchage biologique sur petite surface, analyse de 10 maraîchers dans l'est de la province de Liège, was celebrated for its strong grounding in the field realities and its mixed methods approach combining qualitative and financial data. The jury underlined the practical contribution of his work, including the clear typology of strategies to strengthen the economic viability of microfarms. They praised the clarity of his writing, the freshness and positive tone of his narrative. Julien Chouac, the floor is yours.
So, good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be here in front of you tonight, and it's truly a pleasure to have the possibility to bring to light with the other nominees topics that contribute to make our world thrive in a sustainable and responsible manner. In an increasingly conflict-ridden world where people are becoming ever more divided against one another, and where climate change, which we once took for granted, is being disregarded and called into question by political agendas, personal interests, and the pursuit of profit, it is good to make the most of moments like these to share messages of positivity and hope. Small-scale organic market gardeners, which are the heart of my math thesis, are committed in their daily lives to ensuring that our planet remains both a livable place for us humans and a vibrant local community, both socially and environmentally, embracing our intergenerational responsibility. By producing organic and local fruits and vegetables while ensuring that their farm produces ecosystemic services, they contribute to feeding their local community in a healthy, sustainable, and eco-friendly manner as part of an initiative of long-term societal value creation. What could be a more essential and rewarding job than feeding people and making good to the planet? I ask you the question, I ask myself also the question. However, even though they're working towards a more sustainable and locally based form of agriculture, they're on the front line of climate change and struggle to make a decent living from their work. For my master thesis, I interviewed 10 small-scale organic market gardeners in the eastern part of the province of Liège, where I come from, and I tried to understand how their economic viability could be improved to ensure the long-term future of their farm. In the next video, I will introduce the key points of my master thesis and the main conclusions. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the video and good night.
Conventional agriculture is unsustainable as it has harmful effects on both the environment and the society. Yet, food and thus agriculture is at the very foundation of life. We thus need to transform it in a sustainable manner. Urgent calls have been made from scholars, explaining that the challenge for humanity is to plan and execute a new truly green revolution in food production. Small-scale organic market gardening is part of this new green revolution, as its agricultural and marketing practices are virtuous for both the environment and the society. However, these market gardeners are facing many issues, including on their economic viability. The economic viability is used to assess the performance of a farm in a more holistic manner than pure financial profitability, as it also includes the long-term needs and values of the market gardeners. Through an extensive literature review, 10 semi-structured interviews with market gardeners cultivating less than 1 hectare, and the collection of their accounting data, my master's thesis proposes 4 key strategic recommendations. The first strategy is to increase production from cultivated land by growing more per unit area and growing more per year. The second strategy is to increase the added value of the production. This can be done by favoring direct sales so that market gardeners capture the whole amount of the final sales price. Investments also have to be rationalized. Here, shelters and watering investments need to be made first. Then, external input and the workload also have to be limited. Finally, high value-added crops like cucumber and herbs should be cultivated. The third strategy is to increase the added value of the farm by buying products that they cannot or do not want to produce and resell them by adding a multiplying factor. The fourth and final strategy is to improve management practices. This is the area where most market gardeners were lacking time, knowledge, and tools. My results show that management practices can be improved by collecting sales statistics, improving sales price calculation, and taking part in regular management training courses. Sales price calculation can be improved by computing the cost price of the whole season, positioning in regard of the competitors, improving understanding of consumers' expectations, and adapting prices throughout the season. The most important implication of my master's thesis is the mind map of all the key strategic recommendations that can serve as a toolbox for market gardeners and practitioners. This research also has concrete implications for policymakers, as it points to key elements that can positively impact the economic viability of small-scale organic market gardening, including increased political and financial support. Thank you for listening.
Our third nominee is Putri Nabila from Wageningen University and Research, supervised by Professor Gilles de Gast. Her thesis, Stakeholder Engagement in Double Materiality Assessment, Decision-Making Under Heuristics and Self-Reinforcing Effects, impressed the jury by its conceptual originality, the robustness of its empirical foundation, and the clarity of its analytical framework. The jury highlighted the high relevance of her topic, double materiality, and praised the strengths of her interview-based research as well as the practical potential of her insights for rethinking stakeholder engagement under the CSRD. Putri Nabila, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here as one of the nominees. A little bit about me. I originally from Indonesia, but I studied at Wageningen University in Netherlands for my master's in sustainable business and innovation. And I'm now pursuing a PhD in international business and climate risk in Groningen. When I first came across Philippe de Woot research, one idea stayed with me. That business are not just an economic actors, but they're also a moral actors with a real responsibility to society. This idea is at the heart of my research. Over the past few years, we have seen a growing push for companies to be more transparent on how they impact society and the planet. And this is reflected in the changing of sustainability reporting regulations, which are becoming more stringent. However, are these changes truly capturing what matters? So my research explored this by examining the heuristic or rules of thumbs on how companies make decisions about which sustainability issue to prioritize and to report on, which is materiality analysis. I especially look at the difference before and after the EU Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or CSRD, that was enacted in 2024. The result? It is surprisingly very similar. Companies are still talking to the same old stakeholders with the most financial influence, resulting in mostly the same material topic disclosed. If the same voices keep being heard, emerging issues like climate justice and biodiversity loss may be overheard. In a nutshell, my research shows that it takes more than just regulation to bring about an actual change. It begins with listening to voices we haven't heard yet. Thank you.
Today I will take you on a short journey into my master thesis. What if we discovered that companies listen only to voices they already agree with, simply because it feels easier? This is the hidden risk I explored in my thesis. Under Europe's new sustainability regulation, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, companies must assess not only how climate or social issues affect their business, but also how their actions affect society and the planet. This process is called double materiality, and its credibility depends on engaging stakeholders, people who are affected by or influence the company. But here's the twist, because the process is complex and expensive, firms don't always think deeply about who they engage or how. Instead, they rely on heuristic, a shortcut, like talk to partners with big influence and use a proxy stakeholders. These shortcuts save time, but they quietly shape what companies see and what they ignore. To understand this, I interviewed 23 sustainability professionals across sectors in the Netherlands. From this experience, I identified 9 heuristic or rules of thumb categorized into 4 types of shortcut: selection, procedural, temporal, and prioritization. But here's where it gets interesting. The shortcuts don't stay innocent, they reinforce themselves. Imagine a snowball. A firm picks familiar stakeholders, their views get prioritized, their influence grows, so they get invited again next year. This is called a self-reinforcing effect. I found 3 internal mechanisms behind it: coordination, complementary, and learning, and 1 actional force, adaptive expectation. Suddenly, stakeholder engagement becomes less about discovery and more about confirmation. If the same voice keep being heard, emerging issues like climate justice and biodiversity loss may be overlooked. Double materiality was meant to transform reporting, but if engagement remains predictable, its transformative potential gets trapped in a loop. So what can we do differently? My research offered 5 practical recommendations and guiding questions. Diversify who to engage, who is missing, and what might they reveal. Reflect on which inputs are prioritized. Are the sustainability topic decision based on evidence or on what feels familiar? Challenge existing engagement routines. Are we doing this because it works or because it's what we've always done? Reconsider when to involve stakeholders. Do they shape the agenda or only validate it? And finally, balance numbers with conversation. Are we listening to what's easy to measure or to what truly matters? These steps turn heuristic from reinforcing habits into adaptive tools, because the real sustainability transformation doesn't begin with reporting. It begins with listening to voices we haven't heard yet. Thank you.
Putri, I was calling you back because I will call Maria back, Julien and Putri. That's the moment we are all waiting for. I welcome on the floor also Charles de Liedekerk, who is the founder of the award, and Anne-Rose de Woot for celebrating the winner. So Charles, I let you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming here. It's a great pleasure to see many faces who were here 10 years ago and still come years after year for this important moment. Just for all of you who may not know the lady who is next to me, she's the wife of Philippe de Woot, all right? And I think thank you for applauding her, because, as we say, there is never a great man without a strong woman behind him, and she has really been I wanted to say. Then next, a word about the work of the jury, because for the first time I was part of the jury at the invitation of Valérie, who is coordinating all these things wonderfully. And I really understood how much work went into this. To be the truth, I also discovered the merits of artificial intelligence, because we are being asked to give an opinion about a subject like the one you heard about. What do I know about double materiality? What do I know about the agricultural subject or about transport subject? Nothing. So I can tell you that I spent an hour and a half on the first thesis, and I said my contribution is 0. So I then started digging into artificial intelligence, and what I found is that basically I spent certainly 5 times as much time on it, but at the end of the day I had a far better insight into what each of these theses said. The work of the jury is very, very rigorous, and the principles that we're after are important. It's innovation, it's rigor, it's practicality, it's application in the real life. And so I find it extremely interesting as an exercise. Now, of course, the difficulty is to pick one out of all the numbers that we saw. They're all excellent, and it's always difficult to say who's the best. There is an academic jury, so people who really, as business is to do that, and then the stakeholders jury who look at it from a more practical point of view. But at the end of the day, there was a great convergence on the winner. And I will now ask my mother-in-law, because she's also my mother-in-law, and the wife of Philippe, to mention the name of the winner.
The winner is Putri Nabila.
free to come back here just to explain to which association you will decide to give half of the prize. So you can explain it now and the reason why you select this association, Peter.
Thank you so much for the awards. It was very unexpected, but I'm really glad, and I wanted to contribute these awards also to my supervisor, Gildegars. She helped me in lots of many things. She's also one of my role model back in Wageningen, and I'm grateful to have spent time with her back in my thesis struggle. And yeah, I wanted to also give half of my award to the Sokola Institute. So it was an association that focused on helping bridging the gap of education, especially in indigenous people in Indonesia. So they have been active in, especially in the area of Sumatra, where people there, they didn't have access to education, they have lacks of financial support, and also a lot of infrastructure difficulties for them to go to school. So the bridge of education is actually very big in Indonesia, not just in the rural area, but also in the city itself. There has been a lot of inequality that has happening. So I would love to give part of these awards to that Sokola Institute, hoping here, yeah, I can share some of the, hopefully people can also study and they can learn more about the world and also finding their dreams and hope. Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations again to Julien and Maria. Transition to regenerative agriculture. Through this initiative, he works with farmers across hundreds of thousands of hectares globally to help make agricultural systems both more sustainable and more economically viable. Under his leadership, Soil Capital has also launched one of Europe's first certified payment programs for ecosystem services. Channeling financial incentives from businesses and financial institutions to farmers who adopt regenerative practices. Chuck is also the co-founder and vice president of Climate Agriculture Alliance, a non-profit initiative working to strengthen the integrity and transparency of regenerative agriculture program. Chuck has, before launching Soil Capital, further illustrates the breadth of his experience. He built an international career spanning finance, entrepreneurship, and agribusiness. He worked in investment banking at Morgan Stanley in London, and later served as the CEO of the Fruit Farm Group, an international fresh fruit producer operating across several continents. This experience shaped a unique perspective at the intersection of markets, sustainability, and global food systems. But beyond his professional achievement, Chuck is also here tonight in a more personal capacity. As the grandson of Philippe de Woot, whose legacy we celebrate through this prize, he carries the responsibility, and perhaps the gentle pressure, of representing a vision that has inspired generations of students and leaders to place responsibility and sustainability at the heart of business. Taken together, his journey beautifully illustrates how finance, entrepreneurship, and environmental stewardship can come together to address some of the most pressing challenges of our time. Chuck, we are truly delighted to welcome you today and look forward to hearing your insights. Please join me in welcoming Chuck.
Can you hear me all right? Yes. Thank you, Valérie, for making the pressure gentle. I wish you could have done that a few months ago. It's clearly a high bar to clear. So let's begin. Thank you, first of all, to François Smet. Thank you to Nicolas Danteuil and James Lewison for the welcome. Thank you also to the people behind the Philippe de Woot Award, in particular Valérie Swann and Hélène Leroy, and thank you to the jury and to the committee for the soul and the energy that you put into perpetuating not only my, but our grandfather's legacy. A particular thank you to my father for having initiated this award 16 years ago. I'd also like to congratulate the nominees, Maria, Julien, and Putri, for their nomination for winning this award. Congratulations. As students and future managers, innovators, and leaders, you're at the center of Philippe de Woot's work, and knowing that students and management wanted to use their skills for good meant everything to him. Many thanks also to, and my love, to my grandmother, and the wife of Philippe de Woot, to the narrow and the extended family that came here, to the students, to the friends, and to all who support this award and are kind enough to listen to me tonight. I find myself in a privileged situation. Most speakers before me did not know Philippe de Woot, and they came to speak about their own perspective on their responsibility as business leaders. In my case, nobody shaped my professional choices more than my grandfather, so it's very convenient for me to speak about him and about Sword Capital together. And if we can use this moment to make concrete progress, I think it will have been time well spent. So I think I have clickers. Okay. First, a few words about what Philippe de Woot teaches us. I think we can start with his deep sense of amazement, of wonder. The world, or creation, is a beautiful place. He used to say, nature makes us feel we exist. Yes, my grandfather loved birds, as you've just heard and seen. He would often wake up early in the morning and spend days in Zealand photographing water birds, amazed at their migratory journey, their songs, their mating rituals, which you've also just seen, the way they care for their offsprings. He loved the way the sun reflected on the sea in an ever-changing dance. He would collect sunsets with his grandchildren simply by enjoying time spent together in the early moments of the evening. Now, within nature, Philippe de Woot saw that mankind was called to play a particular role. He was deeply fascinated by our ability as a species to challenge our own limitations, to create and to act on the world. During his holidays, he subjected his family to countless visits of Greek and Roman antiquity, temples, sites, and museums filled with Renaissance paintings. Ever the professor, he took me when I was 10 years old to Venice and later Amsterdam, sharing with passion and humor the wonderful nature of human achievement that, through commerce, exploration, skill, civilizations can celebrate the best of human condition. The Venetians are traders, he used to quote Fernand Baudet, but it takes genius to trade salt and dried fish into spice and silks, and these into Titian and Tintoretto. Finally, my grandfather believed in co-creation. In his mind, this meant the world, while beautiful, was unfinished, imperfect. And our duty as human beings is to improve, complete, and perfect the world we inhabit. As such, our ability for innovation and enterprise and our ability to enter into relationships with one another is central to our exceptional position in the world as human beings. So growing up with Philippe de Woot also meant growing up with Buddha, Lao Tzu, Jesus, Ulysses of 1,000 Tricks, Prometheus bringing fire and progress to mankind. He was emotional, so I'll serve that tribute to you as well. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Johann Sebastian Bach, and so many instances where humanity and divinity intersect. And while humans have been graced with these amazing gifts of progress, innovation, creativity, science, technology, Philippe de Woot largely saw these gifts as neutral. It was what we did with them that was either good or bad. For example, science is used for good, to operate someone under anesthesia, but our industrialization has also allowed for mass genocide. He also recognized the recent development in human history. We have evolved our gifts into terrifying powers in the form of nuclear weapons, unchecked AI, transhumanism, and concentrated capital, which, if left unchecked, would favor the few at the expense of the many. We have also managed to bend nature to our will to such an extent that we are destroying nature itself and our ability to inhabit this planet. Philippe de Woot was not naive. He accepted that power existed and that it was a useful tool for those who wanted to act on the world. However, in his book, Meditations on Power, He opposed the concepts of power for domination and power of service. And for me, this is the heart of his message. For who do you act? For who do you decide? For who do you innovate? For who do you lead? With Levinas, Philippe de Woot said, ethics begins at the first cry of human suffering. Ethics begins at the first cry of human suffering. The ambiguous relationship between power and ethics has a particular resonance today. On the one hand, we can choose to use power for domination and cynically accept that our now limited resources and planetary boundaries have created a system in which human dignity and self-determination are no longer promises that can be kept for everybody. Or on the other hand, we can choose what Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney recently called values-based realism. And we can direct our power, our potential, and our privilege towards the greater good. This is the power of service. We could look at the world today at the onslaught of violence, mindless technologies, and cynicism, and conclude that Philippe de Woot's message is losing ground. But tonight I'd like to offer a different narrative and share with you how we see the world at Soil Capital and how our team, who's present in the back, thank you for being here, has put itself at the service of farmers and future generations. So, how do we apply these lessons at Soil Capital? And apologies to Julien Schwartz, because I'll be repeating some of the things you've already said. Let's start by traveling back in time on a journey together through the history of agriculture. We can start with a little quiz. So, how many tons can one farmer produce in a year? And let's start with ancient Rome. Someone want to venture a number? 1 year, one farmer. 1 ton. Congratulations. All right. Let's see if you're on a roll. Let's go into the medieval ages. How much? How many tons? Someone? 2.5. Yes. Well done. Let's keep going now to the Industrial Revolution in England. How many tons? 10. Half of that. 5. Let's keep going. Now we're in the US in the 1950s. It's getting interesting. 50. Yes. Well done. And now the Iowa maize farmer, corn, in the 2000s, 2013. 2,000 tons. Technological progress in agriculture has defined our societies to the core. And yet, soil degradation is not a new phenomenon. In his book, Dirt, The Erosion of Civilizations, author David Montgomery explains how centuries and millennia of plowing and modification of natural landscapes have so slowly turned the birthplaces of agriculture into arid landscapes and sometimes deserts. Now think of Mesopotamia and the ancient city of Ur, and think what you need around the city: fertility, life. This is the citadel of the city today. I went on Google Earth to make sure that we were really seeing this for real. Have a look. This is the ancient city of Ur. The breadbasket of the Roman Empire, all of northern Africa. Look at it today. Mexico. Look at it today. Soil degradation is nothing new. Since the invention, sorry, can we go back on the slide? Yeah, fine. Since the invention of agriculture some 12,000 years ago, we have treated our soils either as an unlimited source of fertility or as a mine from which we extract whatever fertility we can before moving on. Now we can go to this slide, which is the Amazonian forest. And this is what we're still doing today. So today, very few of us still farm. Yet, agriculture is an existential industry for our civilizations. No farming, no food. No food, no society. Despite awesome progress, our system is increasingly prone to shocks and failures. Centuries of increasingly intensive farming, accelerated by the Industrial Revolution, as well as by innovations in chemistry, have depleted nutrients, compacted the soils that previously used to absorb and filter water, killed the fragile web of life in the soil that would feed our crops and sustain our harvests. And now, gradually, our soils and our food system will hit walls. Even in our most fertile areas in Belgium, crops are failing for the first time. Here's an example of my co-founder Nicholas on a field that we see left here. This is one of the most fertile areas in Europe and dare I say in the world. The soils were so compacted and so depleted of chemicals here that for the first time in Nicholas's career farming in Belgium, he witnessed the crop actually not germinating there. The soils of the mountain region in France, which are a strategic basin for food production in Europe, are amazingly fertile, but extremely shallow. Now, under continuous erosion, we will hit a moment in the coming years where plants won't have enough depth to germinate, and the region will stop producing altogether, almost from a year to the other. The heavy rainfalls in 2024 brought French cereal production down by 17%. Now, it's important for you to know that France is the European Union's largest cereal exporter. And this is the article that was published in January. So French farming hosts first trade deficit in under a decade, which means it is a net importer of food for last year. And I can guarantee that this is not a one-off. We're going to see more of this. The European Union and the world is eroding its own ability to feed itself. Existential vulnerabilities in our food system are increasingly acknowledged with forward-thinking countries who are actually now stockpiling food. And they're citing climate, not geopolitics, as the most important risk facing our food system. So I spoke about Nicholas, my co-founder, and Alex, my other co-founder. When we founded Soy Capital, we saw that the main danger to the degradation of our ecosystems was the degradation of our soil first. We call our company Soy Capital because we understand that soil is capital for farmers, for societies, and for civilizations. Nicholas, I don't know if he's here yet. Maybe I'll show up. Nicholas and many other pioneering farmers teach us that we can maintain and rebuild soil's natural fertility through regenerative practices. These practices include fewer chemical inputs, covering the soil with living plants, covering the soil with living plants as long as possible, decreasing plowing or soil tillage, that's the one, diversifying species in the system, that's the one, and the integration of agroforestry. We call this regenerative farming in contrast with extractive farming, in contrast to the fact that we mine the soils. We see this as the only way to farm in a context of increasing resource scarcity, of geopolitical tensions, and climate disruption. So here's a side-by-side photo of a conventional and regenerative system. Regenerative agriculture enables farmers to build resilience in the face of extreme weather events or volatile fertilizer prices, maintaining productivity or profitability. And I want to make this very, very real to you, because a lot of skeptical people ask us if we can feed the world with regenerative agriculture. We are investing in our fertility with regenerative agriculture. This is what rebuilds the soil fertility. And if we don't regenerate our soils, if we degrade our fertility, we certainly won't be able to feed the world. But just to avoid any further doubt, We ran a comprehensive study with Soil Capital, and our conclusion is that in France, in 92% of the cases observed, the yields from wheat that is regeneratively farmed is on average 250 kilos per hectare better than conventional agriculture. We've come to another realization, that fixing our soils won't mean that we fix farming. Something else is deeply wrong. The average age of the farmer in Europe is 60 years old, and economic conditions are tough. Younger generations don't want to pick up the farm of their parents. When I was born in 1981, 7% of the population was farming in Belgium or in France, or more widely in Europe. Today, we're below 1%. In 44 years, 7% to 1%. If we don't fix farmer economics in the next 10 years, the European family farm model, which is a resilient model otherwise, will disappear. So our soils are in danger, our farmers are in danger. How do we fix this? We often hear that we don't pay for the true cost of food. This is true, but it's not the full picture. We will miss something important if we don't speak about the true value of agriculture that goes well beyond the true cost of food. And this is what we do at Soil Capital. So with the 65 amazingly dedicated professional people at Soil Capital, we work every day with a community of farmers to realize that true value of agriculture. Together we exchange data, insights, human connections to progress in regenerative agriculture. We also calculate and certify farmers' impact on soil carbon, on biodiversity, on water, on soil health, on productivity, and on farm economics. And the organizations who benefit from this impact pay the farmers to deliver this value. Companies like Nestlé, Mars, PepsiCo, Bartmalt, who's also in the room, they make commitments to lower their greenhouse gas emissions of the crops that they procure. They pay their farmers through Soil Capital to reduce and store carbon. Banks want to increase their business with more regenerative and resilient farmers. They work with Soil Capital to optimize their exposure to the right farmers. Food industries want a factory or a silo to operate at full capacity with local production. They work with Soil Capital to understand if the local farmers will be there for the long run. And since the launch of our program in 2020, Soil Capital has already paid 16 million euros to 1,800 regenerative farmers on over 500,000 hectares. In Belgium, in France, in the UK, and more recently in Ireland, Poland, and Argentina. Farmers in our program collectively manage an area the size of all the hectares in Belgium dedicated to arable crops. These farmers have collectively reduced and stored 800,000 tons of CO2 and GHG emissions, CO2 equivalents are in GHG emissions, what 80,000 Europeans have will emit in a year. Is it enough? Certainly not, but it's a start. These farmers are also delivering healthy food, clean water, living soils, abundant biodiversity, resilience, competitiveness, food sovereignties for our societies. We're not alone in this effort. Many other organizations, including some in the room, I can think of UCLouvain, House of Agroecology, Regenacteur, Farm for Good, and many, many others, just to name some in Belgium alone that are working. We see amazing promise for regenerative agriculture. In the same way that we've understood chemical fertility in the 20th century, we're now on the cusp of breakthroughs in biological fertility. This is the progress we make in the 21st century. We're not going back to the systems of the past. Many farmers are showing up, they're taking risks, they're investing in regenerative practices, and gradually they're improving systems that do risk failing. And if we want to accelerate the resilience challenges that we face as a society, we also need to accelerate this. We see a blueprint to address a civilizational challenge. Regenerative agriculture won't be the whole solution, but it certainly will be a necessary part of a prosperous future. And while it's good to talk about it, it's more important to do something about it. So, action. Let's see what we can do together. We've established a few things. The most powerful lever to get farmers who really are entrepreneurs to adopt new practices is to pay them more. We also know that by changing practices, they can deliver significant value to society. So let's ask the question for Belgium. How much does it cost for all of Belgian farmland to become regenerative? Let's do some simple math. In Belgium, there's 1.3 million hectares of farmland. And today we pay around 30 euros per hectare to farmers. It gets some farmers started, but if we really want to get a lot of farmers started and pay for their performance and their environmental outcomes, let's roughly triple that number, and let's bring it to 100 euros per hectare addition. Okay? And let's pay them that every year. How much is that? Very easy. That's 130 million euros per year for all of Belgian farmers. Let's wonder for a second if that's a lot of money. €12 per Belgian per year. €1 per month. Now imagine that this cost can be shared not just by citizens, but amongst industry players, finance players, the public sector. Imagine we can become the first country to pay all farmers for the true value of agriculture. The first country to stabilize or even reverse the fall in farmer numbers. Imagine that we can crack this model for the European Union, who urgently needs a solution for food sovereignty, for the generational renewal of farmers, and for the affordability of healthy food for its people. I have one last story. On February 8th, 2020, IBA's CEO, Philippe de Woot, I don't know if he's in the room. Well, Philippe is there. Olivier. You hosted a board meeting, hosted a meeting to brainstorm with a few entrepreneurs about how we could address crucial environmental and social challenges. And after kindly listening to my pitch, you immediately offered IBA's support, and that was the start of the Soil Capital program. I think you did this to make an idea real. Not just that we can help scale regenerative agriculture, but more importantly, that we are the people that we've been waiting for. And that if you start, others will follow. So incidentally, Philippe de Woot was the first chairman at IBA. And the idea that I have inherited from my grandfather and that I want to leave you with is this. When you have resources and education, choices, friends, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I'm not saying this in a judgmental way. Rather, that the opportunity exists for those who save, more opportunity exists for those who save our resources rather than those who spend them. For those who elevate people rather than treat them cynically. For those who leave every room or the world better than when they found it coming in. That is a life worth living. You can choose power of domination or power of service. The last time I heard my grandfather speak at this ceremony, he told us that before listening to professors and business school teachings, we should first listen to the voice inside us that knows the difference between right and wrong. We all have choice, and our choices shape society. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure I recognize all the birds. Maybe the last one was the phoenix in relation to the regenerative agriculture. I don't know. We should ask after. Dear family of Philippe de Woot, dear family of Michel Watrin, Monsieur Bourgmestre, dear colleagues, dear students, as we come to the end of this ceremony, allow me first to express my sincere thanks to Chuck de Lille for having shared with us a very emotional and intimate speech, challenging us and show us that optimism can still be there and it's still possible to make things change. So for this inspiring talk, thank you so much. Your reflections remind us that sustainability is not a passing trend, whatever is coming those days, but a profound transformation of how we think about responsibility, business, and society. In recent months, we sometimes hear a more pessimistic tone surrounding sustainability. Some speak of fatigue, of complexity, even of doubt. Yet, evenings like this one remind us why our commitment remains essential. At UCLouvain, sustainability is not simply a topic of research or a policy objective. It is deeply connected to our missions as a university. Peace, justice, and sustainability are intertwined. A society that destroys its environment or deepens inequalities cannot remain peaceful for long. And this is precisely why universities have such an important role to play: to produce knowledge, to train responsible leaders, to mix disciplines, and to imagine solutions that serve the common good. The work presented tonight by our nominees beautifully illustrates this mission. What strikes me most is the diversity of the approaches, and yet the unity of the purpose. The thesis of Julien Schwack explores the economic viability of small-scale organic farming, showing how sustainable agriculture can become both environmentally responsible and economically resilient. Nabila Putri's thesis examines stakeholder engagement in double materiality assessments, a subject that lies at the heart of today's debates on corporate sustainability reporting, highlighting how companies can better integrate the perspectives of society in their decision-making. And finally, from Maria Belper, takes us into the field of logistics and decarbonization, proposing a bold scenario in which high-speed rail could replace a significant share of air freight for express parcels in Europe, potentially avoiding millions of tons of CO2 emissions. Agriculture, corporate reporting, logistics, three very different domains. Yet together, they reveal the broad spectrum of sustainability challenges we must address today. They also demonstrate something very important. Sustainability is not a single discipline. It is an ecosystem of ideas where economists, engineers, social scientists, and managers all contribute to building solutions. Another aspect worth highlighting tonight is the international dimension of this award. Through the participation of several international schools and through the SENS network, we are reminded that the challenges we face are global and that academic excellence thrives through international collaborations. For UCLouvain, this openness to the world is not optional, it is fundamental. Our students and researchers must be able to think, act, and collaborate across borders if we want to address the complex challenges in our time. This evening also reminded us of the powerful intellectual legacy of Philippe de Woot and UCLouvain, two remarkable figures who, each in their own way, helped shape the university we know today. A university committed to knowledge, responsibility, and service to society. As was mentioned earlier, their friendship and collaboration left a lasting imprint on this institution. I would therefore warmly invite you after this ceremony to take a moment to discover the artwork El Lignac, gift of the family of UCLouvain, and displayed in the Socrates building. Finally, let me thank all of you, those present and those who wanted to be there but could not. It's very important to be so numerous. It shows how the question we discussed tonight moves all the people together. That the ideas championed by Philippe de Woot remain very much alive. The conviction that business, knowledge, and responsibility must move forward together. To our nominees, congratulations once again, with a special congratulations for Nabila. Your work gives us not only insights, but also hope. Thank you to all of you, to all the colleagues involved in the organization of this very special award, and I wish you a very pleasant evening.